everyone, to another episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. My name is DK Diamantes, his name is Bricky, and it's that time of the month again, so Kirioth is here too. But before we get into that, if you enjoyed today's episode and you want to support the podcast, head over to patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous, where you can get access to the Discord, bloopers if they happen. $15 tier gets you access to all of our posters in HD digital form. You should check it out. It's great. Patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous. Bricky.
Yes, I got stuff. I rolled the stuff so we don't take up too much time. Roll the stuff. This episode of Adeptus Ridiculous is sponsored by Factor. They are a fantastic meal prep service company that allows you to get delicious, high-quality meals very quick to your door exactly when you need them. I am recording currently in a hotel room over at MagFest in Maryland, and I have stuff prepped and ready for me as soon as I get home, because trust me, I will be too tired to cook. They are ready to eat, fresh, never frozen, that are fantastic options, including various choices like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, vegan, veggie, and so on. They heat up in 2 to 3 minutes. They are extremely quick and cheap and easier than all the other brands I have tried. I have used them myself, and I do find them to be stellar. And you can go down in the description to check it out yourself by clicking the link and using coupon code ADEPTUSJAN50 for 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box. That's 50% off and free shipping with ADEPTUSJAN50. Link in the description, and thank you for sponsoring today's video. We're back. Yippee.
Hooray, the stuff.
The stuff. All right.
The efficiency is off the charts today.
We
Love
are
it.
moving. Well, you guys are moving quickly. I'm doing my damnedest.
Bricky's just out here trying to survive.
Yeah. For those. So I may sound a little bit weird this episode. I just got back from MagFest, and while I do have a little bit of con crud, I also immediately got hit with a delicious dose of food poisoning and puked my guts out the whole night. So I have no sleep. I'm dehydrated, and I'm surrounded by these people.
Yeah,
I mean, the last one is definitely the worst of those, if we're being honest. So I can see it.
I don't know, man. I think you got bigger issues right now. You have an evil man in a garage trying to get you.
It's true. It's true. I'm living on the edge, and it means I can't go outside, which is great. Love it.
Well, welcome. Hello. It is a evening episode of Adric. It is the end of the month, and that means Kirioth is here. Yippee. That was a genuine yippee. It just sounds that way because, you know. But
poor Bricky.
I'm. You know what? Never say I don't try. Never say I don't show up.
I will never say you don't put in the work since you've been,
I would
shitting your brains out, and
I would not have been offended if this had started with just a message from you going, "I'm not doing this today. See you next month." I would have been totally fine with that. It's commitment on show here. Everyone needs to know the commitment.
Well, there's also the other part, which is the ICBM missiles quickly approaching my location sent from other certain co-host. And so, sometimes it's more about just survival, and that's what matters the most. But anyway, Kirioth, hello, sir. What are we here to talk about?
Well, we did a break from tradition last time, where for like the first Wednesday in a good number of years, we didn't actually talk about Warhammer. And people really, really enjoyed it. They really liked it. The episode did really well. The overall feedback was very, very positive. And there were quite a few people who were like, it would be nice to go into more detail about this stuff. So that's what we're doing. We're going back to Trench Crusade for this episode. And we are going to talk about one of the factions in greater detail. And when I say in greater detail, it turns out there is still a lot to go through when it comes to this setting. It might be new, it might be relatively fresh, but there is a good amount of stuff to properly delve into. So I'm going to do, as opposed to a quote, what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you a little kind of quiz as to which faction you think this might be. Given that, it's been a month, a lot's happened in between. There's been various releases and reveals for other stuff, other topics. If I say that there is one specific emplacement, a city perhaps, that stands against hell and is like the first line of engagement, can you remember what that place is called?
Ooh. I remember us talking about this. Like, I would have... Because I remember we were like, oh yeah, that seems fitting for like a Jerusalem-based city. I don't remember what it was specifically called, though.
My first thought was also Jerusalem in some way, but I don't quite. I don't remember if that was the actual name or if it was something else.
You're not a million miles away, at least specifically in terms of like location. For instance, Jerusalem is the gate of hell, as Shai said. That's where all of the demonic forces and the forces of hell decided to open up a big rift into the world and start pouring out and murdering everybody.
Right. Gotcha.
But there is a city not that far away that held out for quite a while. And, oh, there we go. That's a good call, Shai, actually. So, your choices, you've got Trench Pilgrims, Heretic Legions, Cult of the Black Grail, Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, the Iron Sultanate, and the Principality of New Antioch.
Ooh,
Would this just be the Pilgrims? The classic Trench Pilgrims? I'm seeing lots of crosses here and funny hats.
So I think it is either the Principality of New Antioch or the Iron Sultanate. And my gut is going with the Principality of New Antioch.
You've nailed it, DK. It is the Principality of New Antioch. We are probably going to cover the Iron Sultanate as well in the future. That is going to require even more looking into than this did, because that requires research into a religion that I'm not hugely familiar with, whereas New Antioch, they are like the seat of the church. They are where all the big decisions are taken, and they are where a lot of the resistance against hell kind of is focused. And it's also the place that gets absolutely wrecked with attacks, most often because the rest of the world doesn't really want the forces of hell to be fighting on their doorstep. Instead, it's much better to provide a shed load of resources to this one place, which is essentially not quite permanently besieged, but it has faced a significant amount of like hell incursions. I happen to have a helpful map here where you can see roughly where things are, and New Antioch is really not that far from Jerusalem itself. It's pretty close. So it gives a good indication as to just how often that one place is the forefront of the combat. It's the gateway into the rest of Europa.
So if I'm going to boss baby this, would that make New Antioch kind of like Cadia?
Oh, I was about to say the exact same thing. Literally, I was going to say it exactly like that, boss baby and everything.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to boss baby it, it's like the Cadia of Trench Crusade. That's a horrible sentence that I'm not sure I like.
Yeah, well, it's become a new colloquialism. What about Damascus? It seems pretty close, but not whatever is going on there.
So Damascus, there isn't a huge amount of information on. This is one of those things where, because Trench Crusade is quite new, there's lots of little things that have been kind of thrown out as bits of information regarding like the overall timeline, but no further follow-up. So like on that map, there's the location of Argos, which, as it says, taken by God and is no more. That's your lot. Like, that's what you get. There's not much in the way of actual like background for Damascus at the moment. So New Antioch is effectively, that is the gateway through to Europa, and that is where a lot of the really heavy fighting takes place. And it stood essentially in the same place for we're at 1914, and Antioch was first reinforced in 1102. So it has withstood the forces of hell for a good 800 odd years, with the caveat that it was destroyed partway through that. So like about halfway through this being a key defensive area, Antioch was destroyed by hell, by a mysterious infernal weapon. No further details given, obviously. Potentially some sort of hilarious hell nuke. I'm now thinking it would be fun if it was a giant artillery witch throwing a giant hell nuke at the city. I don't think that's what happened, but the mental image is good. And they managed to hold out for a good, 15 years, I believe it is, until they were able to start rebuilding the walls and creating New Antioch, which has just become like the linchpin of the defenses of the faithful, to the point where it is called the home of all our hopes, which is a lot of pressure to put on one city.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is a whole lot, because if New Antioch falls, it's all over. You've put essentially they're putting all their eggs in that basket, right? Because if that falls, no more defenses, you're done. Hell takes over.
Is that why they have a gun
Pretty much,
or a tank that looks like the size of a small city? Because that first image I posted way over there has a gun that looks like it's, I mean,
it's insane, isn't it? It's great.
Gigantic, yes.
I mean, that puts Bane Blades to shame, which is perfect.
I mean, that puts Titans to shame.
It seems like for the most part, a lot of the New Antioch, at least the miniatures that Shy posted, they're pretty specialized. They got like the big armor. They got they're a little bit more I don't know. They're less like just random dude with a hat with like a bolt action rifle.
Yes, they are far more organized. So with New Antioch being like the kind of the seat of the church, or at least the point at which all the defenses are focused, it's a lot more regimented, it's a lot more organized, and there are distinct armies that are built and maintained there. So pretty much everywhere is just sending supply trains full of ammo, weapons, machinery, skilled engineers. They send everything to this one place because it's effectively a fortress. It's also a training ground. It's also a factory as well in multiple different ways. So it produces a huge amount of weaponry, and also trains the troops that it has to be able to then use it. It has an entire kind of internal structure that is just solely organized around the idea of nothing should get past this one point. If something takes the city out, it means everything falls. Therefore, this one place ends up being the most reinforced and heavily militarized area for the faithful in that area of land. And it's known as the sword and shield of Europa and Africa due to the position of it. So it's fully this is the key. We have to hold it. We will send literally everything there in order to make sure that it just stays and nothing can get past it.
Just when I hear that, it's just oh man, they've put all their eggs in one basket, and it's just oh no, history does not, usually anyway, history does not look fondly on places that are just oh yeah, we put everything here, we put all our defenses here, we put all our men here. New Antioch is going to fall at some point, isn't it? Story-wise, it's probably going to crack at some point, isn't it? By some just otherworldly, crazy invasion fleet from hell, big demon-led invasion from hell, and it's going to be a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they didn't have a gun that big.
True. They did not. Yeah.
It's true. They do have the biggest guns. You can see them. See them right there. Also, whatever is in the background of the last image that Shy posted. So you've got there I think that's a lieutenant, and you've got a mechanized heavy infantry unit there. I'm not sure what that is in the background of that, but that is potentially also Titan-sized. It's kind of difficult to tell.
Oh yeah, at first I thought that was just some ruins, it's just some buildings they destroyed. But yeah, that does look like the armor of a gigantic, I don't want to say humanoid, but it looks like a gigantic creature that's just been hollowed out. And yeah, that looks
Sure.
like some Hellspawn shit. Sure, yeah.
I mean, it could also equally be some sort of monstrosity the church has created, which is one of the things I love so much about this setting. It's like, that's horrific. What is it? Oh, well, it's got a cross nailed to its face, so it must be good. I like that. It's good. So there are a few things that kind of make it feel like perhaps New Antioch might fare better than you'd think in terms of like an apocalyptic event. So at this point, New Antioch has had 8 like full sieges against it. And the walls have never been breached. Like, ever since the walls were reconstructed and reinforced after the city was destroyed that one time, the city has not been breached, like, since that point. And there's also a couple of key details to this. So, firstly, there are 77 towers, which we'll get back to in a second. And there's also hundreds of anchorites that are like embedded in the walls themselves. So the first thing, the 77 towers, I had to go and do a bit of Googling on this because it felt far too specific to be a number plucked out of thin air, you know, just going, yeah, we'll do 77. Why not? Boy, does Googling, like, what does 77 signify in the Bible lead you down some interesting rabbit holes. Some of them, it's like, okay, I can see there's clearly some references here. Others, I don't know. I just didn't know where to go with some of this. So there's a couple of things that are like potentially important when it comes to choosing that number for the number of towers in the walls. One of them being the fact that after the Great Flood, when Noah built the ark and floated around a bit, there was 2 instances where he sent out a dove to try and find land, and it was a 7-day gap between both, and he did it twice. So you've got 2 sets of 7.
70.
So you end up with 77. There's also Psalm 77 is one of the more well-known ones in the Bible, where there's a couple of verses that like particularly kind of speak to God's character and his willingness to help people. The downside to that is that there are a bunch of different translations of the Bible, so I think it kind of depends on which one you land on as to the specific wording. But like, you get the idea that, you know, who is as great as God? There is no God as great as God, and that kind of thing. It's like an affirmation thing. There's also things like this gets so. I started to feel like I was going insane reading into this stuff, by the way, just because it's so like, it feels like stuff that's all been pulled, and I don't know which specific thing the 77 Towers references in particular, but my gut instinct is that it does reference something, whether it's just the fact that 77 is a recognized number within the Bible itself, or whether it is a specific reference to a specific psalm or a specific, passage or whatever. I'm not entirely sure. But there's also the fact that the like great grandson of Cain, who killed Abel with the first murder, a guy called Lamech, he kills someone and says that he has been avenged 77 times. So that could also be the kind of reference for it there. I mean, Antioch was destroyed, it was rebuilt with 77 towers. It could be that the existence of New Antioch and the inability of hell to get through those walls is a kind of like a symbol of vengeance in a way, or of avenging the old city. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. So it definitely doesn't feel coincidental. But which specific thing it's referencing, I mean, we'd have to ask Mike Francina himself, which I'm totally prepared to do. But so he might just go, I'm not telling you. So that's totally fine.
These are like defense towers that have like guns on them or people stationed on them.
Yes. So they're like core parts of the fortifications. The other thing that is notable is the existence of the hundreds of anchorites, which are embedded in the towers. So this is a shrine anchorite, and it's kind of, I mean, I guess you could say, if you wanted to boss baby it, dreadnought.
He's got the Martyr Ligarius wheel.
Yep, and there's a person attached to it, and is that a upside down dead dog tied to the middle of
That's
it?
a lamb.
I'm about to say it looks like a lamb, the Lamb of God and all that, right?
Of course it would be a lamb. Why would I think it would be a dog in Trench Crusade?
It's I like
It's some dude's dog. Harsh.
Yeah.
Harsh.
I like the Ligarius wheel. I think it's very funny because you can like spin it really fast and do cool things.
So for the anchorites,
you can do some damage with that thing.
Definitely. It's as weapons go, it's a bit mad, but it is pretty cool. So yeah, there's a Catherine wheel which is made out of adamantine, and you can't really argue with a weapon that's called Bonebreaker Mace. Sort of, it does what it says on the tin, doesn't it? You know what you're getting with a Bonebreaker Mace.
What does it do, Kirioth?
It's for petting hamsters. No, It's like, these are kind of, if you wanted to boss baby it, you could fully just go, well, it's like dreadnoughts, but with even more, I guess, sort of Catholic imagery. But there is someone inside. They're not dead. They are not dead. It's not like a last resort of trying to keep someone in the fight. Instead, you've got this massive, like, metal borderline robot suit. It's got a diesel engine on it, and it has things that, like, blast prayers out on it. But the inside of it is just covered in, like, hooks and spikes, so that when the person who goes in it are just kept in a constant state of pain and torment. And it's specifically monks or nuns that are put in there. And they kind of treat it as like suffering in the same way that Christ did. So it's like a penitent thing. And they stay in there until they either die of wounds or they die of old age. Funnily enough, I don't think many of them get to the old age stage, but I guess it's technically possible. And the Shrine Anchorites are borderline, like, they're borderline indestructible. They're almost immune to damage, full stop. And they can't make them anymore, as is so often the case with a lot of this stuff, like the Paladins as well, where it's just, oh, we had these amazing things and we could produce them, and now we've lost the knowledge, we've lost the ability. These now end up being they end up in trench pilgrim processions more than they do in New Antioch fighting forces, but there are a ton of them just embedded in the walls of the city, just permanently on watch, which makes it incredibly difficult for any forces of hell to do anything like sneak attacks or get round or breach the walls, because you have these like borderline indestructible things just making up the structure of it in some cases.
Mm-hmm. So how many of these do they have left? Because you said they can't make them anymore, and these are like stupid powerful. You can't destroy them. They're nigh indestructible. And if you can't make any more, how many of them are left, actually? Or is there not like a specific number? It's just like, oh yeah, we've got a bunch of them, but we can't make more.
There's not a number specifically attached to it, but I mean, okay. I'm assuming if you really wanted to break a few free, you could maybe get them out of the wall, but then I don't know whether they are like permanently sealed in to the extent that it would cause so much damage that you wouldn't want to. They do have a really fun thing where you actually get bonuses in the rules for this, right? So the Catherine wheel that they've got, there is, before battle, there will be pilgrims or the stigmatic nuns that we talked about last time. They will volunteer to be broken on that massive Catherine wheel, and like their final battle will just be them on the wheel in agony, suffering for the fact that they've sinned. And that makes the anchorite even more like difficult to hit or difficult to damage. And in the rules, you get a specific buff for like sacrificing one of your guys or girls to be like broken on the wheel.
Oh,
it's mad. It's great.
So just to confirm, that bloody body on the wheel is not someone that was killed by this thing, that is someone that willingly volunteered to be a sacrifice and be put on that wheel.
Yes, that's not a heretic. That is one of the faithful who have put themselves forward to be. And when it says broken on the wheel, that it's a kind of a specific phrasing, because there is, or was, I guess technically there'll be some in a museum somewhere, I'm sure, but a breaking wheel was effectively a torture mechanism whereby, and I guess like a bit of a trigger warning if you don't like the idea of like broken bones. People would be placed on it and their bones would be broken so that their arms and legs could be wrapped around the wheel to keep them in place. The phrasing of being broken on it is kind of specific in a very horrible way.
Specific and very literal.
Yeah.
Wait,
funnily enough, the church don't like that. They're not big fans of it.
Wait, hold on now for a moment. What does the faithful dude on the wheel like give to the anchorite?
They've sacrificed themselves in order to protect it effectively. It gives a bit of extra protection to the anchorite, which in turn just implies that God is going, you know what? I'll allow it. Yes.
Okay. I was like, I don't think they're protecting much. The dude, it's just he's only like in part of the wheel. But okay.
Mm-hmm. And you said they specifically get buffs depending on what kind of person sacrifices themselves, right?
So in the rules, if someone opts to, if one of the models, you can basically sacrifice one of the models and it buffs the shrine anchorite. Let me get the actual thing up so I can get the wording proper. I really like it. It's the kind of like silly but still quite grim approach. So here we go. The actual rule itself is broken on the wheel. Before the start of the battle, one trench pilgrim or ecclesiastic prisoner may voluntarily be broken on the wheel to show their piety and devotion, at which point you permanently remove all weapons, armor, and equipment from the victim and /store them as you wish. The anchorite shrine will then shatter the bones of the volunteer and carry the broken victim to the battle on its wheel. As long as the volunteer is not taken out of action, any attacks against the anchorite are redirected to the volunteer. So rules-wise, if someone tries to attack the anchorite, but someone has been sacrificed on the wheel before the battle, the attacks are redirected to that volunteer.
Based?
You know, a literal sacrifice shield.
Yeah. Just a general like pain redirect. Though considering how big this anchorite is, I wonder how much the dude can even take.
Probably like the anchorite itself is super strong or like super tanky. I'm assuming the dude on the wheel is just dead immediately. I would guess. You know, it's basically a naked guy or girl with a hood on and some rope, and that's it, protecting the giganto suit of walking armor that is borderline immune to damage in the first place. It's unnecessary, but in the best way. Yeah, 12 to 15 feet tall, the shrine anchorites. So pretty hefty.
Yeah, it's a big lad, as they say.
Oh, I'll be so happy if that just becomes the most used phrase. So there's a bunch of those strapped into the walls. Super handy. Probably a big contributing factor as to why New Antioch has not fallen at this point or been breached. The actual like New Antioch itself is just full of people who have come to serve under New Antioch and serve under the banner of Christ, and it's like a proper multicultural place. So there's people from all over that have just come to essentially lay down their lives for the cause of protecting the faithful or protecting people from the forces of hell. And there's something that the Office of the Propagation of Virtue that operates in New Antioch, and funnily enough, they sound a bit propagandary and a little bit policey, but that's only because They are. They're
I was waiting for that.
oh yeah, they're like happy for people to have a good time, but if you like stray from church doctrine, even a little bit, you get executed. And the execution of heretics, it happens every week and draws massive crowds. So executions, big public event, happens pretty often.
I was going to say that sounds like if you even stray from the path a little bit, you get executed. I'm surprised that isn't a daily occurrence, let alone only weekly. Wow, that's a lot less than I thought. I was like, every minute there's probably like a showcase execution.
To be fair, there's probably someone getting done in at any given hour. If we're being honest about it.
We need to raise the morale of Antioch. Get one of the executions going. They love a good execution. Raise this morale. Go, go, go.
Break out the popcorn. Get out the folding chairs. Let's make a day of it.
I don't know why. I just imagine like a gallows, and they're like, oh, yeah, let's make a show of it. And they've got popcorn and like 3D glasses on. It's like, wow, it looks so real.
3D glasses
for an in-person execution.
It's like I'm getting hung. This is great. So there's also, like we said before, like there is constant like manufacturing as well. So there's a ton of factories, tanks constantly being churned out, foundries that are going to create ammunition and things for like artillery battalions, which I believe is, I think there's the Giganto tanks in one of the earlier pictures, and there's also that kind of massive cross with the antennas and then the artillery piece next to it. So it's just this mass of both fortress and factory at the same time. There's also the techno laboratories of the city where the church creates new communicants. Now, we talked about communicants last time. The horrible guy, like big lumpy dude with the cross nailed to his face and his flail that's got bells on it. We also talked about the tank hunter briefly as well, which I hadn't realized that so we talked about the little ammo friend that he's got. And I hadn't realized that they were directly attached to the order that creates the communicants. So the communicants as a whole, they were developed by the order of Mendelist monks. So they are the ones who kind of came up with the Meta-Christ program, which is like the clones of Jesus that they use to like take synthesized blood from them and then give it to people, and then they become all either hulking and massive, or they are able to carry a gun, the same size as them. But there's also the ammo monks, and the ammo monks are the ones that go with the communicant anti-tank hunter. And I really like the little kind of subsection of lore for them. And we will talk about the Mendelist monks a little bit more in just a sec, but the ammo monks, they are part of the Brotherhood of Blessed Munitions, which is a great name.
That is a great name. Also, I just want to make sure I heard this right. You could drink the blood of Christ, and instead of becoming a big lumpy lad or a big tank hunter, you could just become monk that holds ammo.
Oh no, the monks who hold the ammo, they're part of the order that create the communicants in the first place.
Oh,
so they're like, I was going to say they're like, I guess, normal. I'm assuming. As normal as anything is in this universe.
That's a real snake eye roll on the drinking the Christ blood. If that was an option, I was like, that's a real bad roll, right?
My favorite gender tends to be ammo monk. I prefer it the most.
So glad to hear that's not the case.
The ammo monk, they have like a specific duty. So the Brotherhood of Blessed Munitions has a specific duty, which is to provide the armies of the faithful with different types of ammunition, and that ammunition is also treated with altered versions of the blood of one of the Meta-Christs. Really, really difficult to handle. So like the solutions are super unstable. and they have their like formulas that are all super secret, and they're very protective and jealous of it, and they're very guarded. They don't let anyone look at them. But some of these ammo monks, like, they will go onto the battlefield like carrying this ammo with them, and they don't necessarily directly kind of fight themselves, but they will go with like anti-tank hunters and provide them with like ammunition that is fully chemically altered by the blood of a clone of Christ.
That's that. Okay.
It's a tough job. Someone's got to do it.
Yep. It reminds me of like scenes from like, you know, have you ever seen Constantine with Keanu Reeves?
Yes.
Like that scene where like what's his face is making like the special bullets, and he's like encasing them in like gold and putting like holy water on them.
Oh yeah.
It reminds the ammo monks remind me a lot of that.
I hadn't put those two together, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It feels like that's like probably a good like basis for like the mental image of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was that really terrible actor that gets memed on all the time. I don't remember what his name is.
I was going to say Keanu Reeves, but that's not fair.
Yeah, the taxi cab driver. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Go on.
So I'm just going to read out the prayer that Shai's put in, because this is also excellent. Blessed be the rounds that carry the weight of our faith. May the barrel be a chalice, the bullet a sermon, and the firing pin a divine spark, as we consecrate each round to be the instrument of the Lord's judgment. Amen. That's the ammo monk prayer. So, you know, they'll be saying that as they walk around watching their extremely tall, mutated friend shoot tanks to death. Excellent.
Man, may the barrel be a chalice and the bullet be a sermon goes
it's badass.
It goes incredibly hard.
Really
Holy
does.
shit.
So
I would go around chanting that for my big tank hunter lad. Sure.
Just going to start doing it in real life. Just walking around the shop.
I think I'd get arrested really quickly if I did that in real life.
Quite possibly, yeah, fair enough. So one of the things that I wanted to mention about the Mentalist monks is that this also is this one is a far more like clear reference to a real person. So there is the Right Reverend Gregor Mendel, who was an abbot, I believe, at St. Thomas Abbey, and was also a biologist and a meteorologist and a mathematician. So had some skill, had some talent. Was born in 1822, and one of the things that he is most well known for, and in fact, I think it's fair to say, like, the thing that he is recognized for is he has got essentially posthumous recognition as the like father of genetics, of the modern science of genetics. So he did a lot of working with pea plants, specifically 7 characteristics of them, and would kind of essentially breed these plants to produce different variations and varieties of them. And he is the one who came up with the terms recessive and dominant in reference to traits found in animals, plants, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So effectively you've got a real person who is used as the inspiration for the order of Mendelist monks, given that it was the Right Reverend Gregor Mendel, which is just a really nice little kind of alternate history thing. Whereas Gregor Mendel was messing around with pea plants, the Mendelist monks mess around with apparently the genetic code of the Son of God. So there's obviously a difference, but the inspiration is 100% there, which is really fun.
Well, men can't have hobbies, Kirioth.
It's fair.
I was gonna say pea pod, God's genetics, tomato, potato, right? It's all, it's just genetics, right?
It's only like a couple of steps removed, isn't it? It's not that far off.
Yeah, totally. It's the same damn thing.
So earlier you did say, like, surely New Antioch it's probably going to get like destroyed at some point, right? Well, there is the recognition of that kind of in universe that New Antioch is doing extremely well, and New Antioch has survived 8 sieges and the walls have never been breached. But if Hell ever fully got its act together, New Antioch would not be able to withstand a full invasion of combined heretic forces. If it wasn't for the fact that, you know, Hell being Hell, there is a lot of internal conflict and vying for position, New Antioch would probably have fallen at this point. Like, the Principality is only really there because Hell cannot stop arguing with each other, and they can't stop trying to get one over on each other. And if they ever did fully unite, then things would go very, very badly.
Yeah. Trying really hard not to boss baby this. Really, really, but I'm gonna let you finish though. Go ahead.
I feel like we don't even need like the full explanation of the boss baby. We just need to. It's just like the shorthand is just getting boss baby vibes, and then that's it. Because you know, given the audience, pretty sure they're right there with us for 99.9%.
Yeah, if I feel it, they probably feel it. So yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I nearly said feeling the boss baby, but I don't think that's a good sentence. So we're just gonna move on.
Not something you can normally say in public.
No, maybe I don't know. I would say, can we bleep that? But I know Shy won't.
No.
So there's no point. Okay. So it's been centuries of war, like centuries of absolute slaughter, but it's not been completely, it's not been full bore all the time. There's been kind of lulls, there's been kind of big pushes, but then things have relaxed a little bit. So New Antioch has kind of managed to maintain itself as like this linchpin of faithful defense. There is another good reason for how well it's doing, though, and that is the fact that there is a distinct, like, title, distinct, like, ruler, which is the Duke of New Antioch, which is currently Constantine the 11th. And he is essentially the commander of all faithful armed forces, pretty much. Because of, like, the standing that New Antioch has and where it is, the Duke of New Antioch is kind of like the top dog when it comes to telling faithful forces where to go and like where to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a lot of conflict in terms of the church itself, where like different processions of trench pilgrims might regard some of the doctrine of New Antioch as actually being not something that they follow or not a true interpretation of like the word of God. So there's still even like, despite the fact that Hell is doing a bit of infighting, the faithful aren't exactly getting on 100% of the time either. There are still like little fights and scraps over resources. And quite often there will be these skirmishes between forces that ideally would be on the same side against Hell, but a lot of the kind of conflict that comes into the massive no man's land and all the trenches within there is the fact that there are warbands sent out to find different like relics and artifacts and resources. There's holy relics. There's just like wealth to be found out in the trenches as well. And the Duke kind of constantly dispatches small forces into no man's land just to look for intelligence, to conduct raids, to try and like take over strong points, to retrieve weaponry. And sometimes there will be warbands that come across like a trench pilgrim warband, and it will be a case of, this belongs to New Antioch. And the response will be, we found it first. No, it's not. And that usually goes about as well as you'd expect it to.
Yeah. I mean, you would think most people would be willing to give up whatever for New Antioch, since it is like, you know, the first and last line of defense against Hell, but then again, it is like, you know, a very dystopian kind of world. So also, this Duke must be a total badass to like be able to like have reigns over this place, they must be a stern MFer.
And the pressure, the absolute pressure on a daily basis must be insane.
Yeah,
like,
if you fail, humanity dies. And it's like, oh, great. No stress here.
It's Saturday. What do you want to do? I mean, I can't do anything but the same thing I've been doing for the last however many years, which is strategize and fight hell. Okay, right.
Hey,
late breakfast.
We've moved from Boss Baby to nice Pinky in the Brain vibes here. Right? What are we gonna do today,
Constantine
Brain?
Is the brain of New Antioch.
The same thing we do every day.
No holidays for that guy. Never gets a day off. So something that is kind of fun is the fact that, like, when people go to fight, they will often end up in New Antioch at some point, but there is a process by which you can renounce citizenship of wherever you're from, and you can just come and serve under the Duke alone. And as a result of that, the standing army of New Antioch is like the biggest army that the faithful has. It's like the largest fighting force they have access to. Mm-hmm. And that army is incredibly loyal and so proud of their city and their land, that it's like absolute loyalty.
Makes sense. I mean, that is basically the Holy Land. So I would imagine they get a lot of people renouncing where they used to live, and they're like, I want to fight for New Antioch. There's sort of like the glory there. There's sort of like this, I'll fight and die for God and country, right?
Remind me again, which faction has the weirdo people who commune with God and look like a droid? The Observers?
So technically, I believe the Observers are part of New Antioch. Like, they're part of the structure there. But I think I can't. Let me just check the rules thing again, because I can't remember whether they fall under that specific army list or whether they are mercenaries technically. Because the communicant anti-tank hunters, they are made in New Antioch, but they can also be taken by trench pilgrims, despite the fact the trench pilgrims don't technically really fall under the command structure of New Antioch itself. There's a lot of kind of like, you've got your kind of established force and organized force of New Antioch and the different groups within that principality, and then you've got just full mercenary units like the communicant anti-tank hunter and technically the witch burner, which I'm just going to just mild tangent. The witch burner is fantastic because they have the power to channel divine retribution to those who have sinned. But of course, no one is without sin, so people around them burst into flame.
Wait,
right.
Do you have the photo of this thing? I don't remember what they look like.
So that's the witch burner. You've he's part of the Inquisition. He's a field officer of the Inquisition, and people burst into flames around him because he condemns sinners.
He's got some.
What a boss!
He's got some drip.
He does.
Yeah.
Reminds me of I'm just referencing everything else today. Star Wars in the Emperor's special guard.
Yeah, he looks like a oh crap, you're right. It's like throne room guard or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. There's definitely a bit more
from the sequels, yeah.
There's definitely a bit of Star Wars in some of these stuff, but I also can't tell if that's me boss babying, because I can't tell did Star Wars get some of these designs from old school looks, which is just also where this also got it from, because it's 1914,
Yeah. What was actually the inspiration? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't go back far enough to know.
Mm-hmm.
You'll note that there doesn't seem to be any sort of gun there. Instead, he's just got the cane, the stick. He's got a walking stick and he makes you go on fire, and that's all he needs.
Yeah, so this thing around demons must go super hard. Like, can demons even survive around this guy? Because he just makes people that have sinned just burst into flames, you said, right? And if you are a being of sin incarnate, boy, you must be real unhappy seeing this guy just walking stick towards you.
Nah, you gotta think of it like this. Oh dear, he's getting close to us. What would we ever do about this? Then you look at like then some weird random mute lady pulls out a 40 gigaton bomb from hell, and it's just like, well, problem solved.
I guess she would have it covered, wouldn't she? Fair enough.
I mean, he's got to have some sort of extra protection, though, right? Surely. Look at that cloak. That cloak's got to be good for something.
Well, you tell us, right?
Oh, God, right. I've completely forgotten what your original question was, Bricky. I'm sorry. I got distracted by the idea of people bursting into flames.
Oh,
which,
I
think is fair.
I don't remember what my question was either, so I think it's okay. I think okay. We were just discussing about like the Star Wars thing originally, and then figuring that part out. But I mean,
it was the observers.
Oh yes, the observers. Thank you.
That was it. So that kind of falls under the umbrella of New Antioch, of the guys who can like hear the voice of God, or the divine echo, as it's specifically called.
So they're not mercenaries then.
I think they're technically listed as, but are part of like it's a bit. I feel like the interface between some of the stuff is a little bit strange, where it's kind of like the main example being that communicant anti-tank hunter, where it specifically calls out like in the background for New Antioch, communicants are being made in those laboratories in New Antioch, and there's distinct reference to like the Mendelist monks and so on, and the ammo monks, obviously follow the communicant anti-tank hunter around, but you can take that in other lists as specifically as a mercenary. So it's like kind of, it falls under it and is probably most likely part of the direct command structure of it. But then when it comes to the tabletop side of things, it's a little more open than that. Because there's also things like the Council of Saints. There's the Synod of Strategic Prophecy, which is where the observers come in, and also where the ones who kind of interface with the saints come in. But that's technically in Rome. So yeah, there's lots of like kind of intermeshing between different states and places and forces, and it kind of not quite like confused necessarily, but I think some of it's a bit more complex than other bits, if that makes sense.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. All the food poisoning.
I too have questions.
All the food poisoning leaving my body when I see a dude with a fucking TV antenna.
I was going to say it's old school.
That's the prophet antenna with the old school TV antenna. Yeah, that's okay.
Is this New Antioch still, or are these heretics?
That I think is heretic.
Okay, because like there's big armored dudes.
Wait, hang on.
In the back, but I can't tell if those dudes are like New Antioch armored dudes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Sometimes it's really hard to tell. Like if you just throw out a picture from Trench Crusade, sometimes it's hard to be like, hey, do you think this is a heretic or a holy person? And it's like,
well,
yes?
Yeah, there is a bit of that. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, Shive. I've there's so much of the art is really, really good, but like you say, DK, sometimes you just look at something and go, well, that's clearly. Oh, it's not. It's not an evil dude. All right, sure, cool. That's fine.
And it's like, that's horrific, a person channeling the will of God and grace and His holy word, and it's like, that thing. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not over the TV antenna, man. I'm not over the top of the Simpsons roof, like internet line or like electrical. It gives me the same vibe as the witch. It's just like, hey, here's this witch, everything is normal, and then also here's like gigaton bomb, And same deal here. It's like, okay, all right, we're all here. And then it's just like the dude
TV antenna.
The dude has to adjust the rabbit ears on his TV to make sure the signal to God is not like too staticky. It's just so funny.
Yeah, no, you hold it up high enough and you concentrate hard enough and you can hear God. It's that easy. But yeah, that prophet and the observers and the ones that like help with the communing with the saints, they are based in the Vatican, but it's still like the Vatican still actively sends forces to New Antioch and directly like interfaces with them, to the extent that you can, if you are running a New Antioch force in the tabletop, you can actually do a variation of New Antioch. So as part of the Principality of New Antioch, you can have a Papal State Intervention Force, which is a great name. Love that. And they are effectively smaller but more specialized warbands that have access to like elite equipment, specialist equipment, and soldiers. And they are handpicked by the Pope to go and eliminate heretic leaders or recover artifacts of like huge importance. But I like the idea of a group of nutters being chosen by the Pope to go and murder a guy. That is class. It's so good.
Oh my God, Kojima.
It's not even the weirdest thing.
I was kidding. Yeah, it's not even the... Oh, yeah, though. Yes, look at that guy.
Look, there's Kojima.
Yeah, I mean, like, you even got the little container with the little specimen in it, the gloves, yeah.
I've never noticed that word in that description before. So, trained in the arts of war and science, these soldiers capture and vivisect the enemies of the church. Correct me if I'm wrong. Vivisect specifically is the like cutting apart of something whilst alive, isn't it?
Chop them up.
Yep.
Eat them up. Eat them up. Eat them up. Eat them up.
Can't believe I've not really twigged that before. It's not. So yeah, it's not just doing a full autopsy. You gotta get them whilst they're fresh. Wow, this is already nearly an hour, and there's still loads to talk about. Should we just cover a couple of units and then we can get really specific with it, like maybe at a later time? Because we could easily have another hour's worth, and I'm not even joking.
Oh,
there's a lot.
I think I generally get the concept. I mean, these are like the elite members of the church that are holding off Jerusalem from taking over everyone right there and then, right? So, like, I kind of get the vibe. I think I am curious about the units though, because you did have that one image of the sniper dude.
Yeah,
sniper
let's look at a couple of the units. So we're going to have to talk about the sniper priest first, just because it's an excuse to put the picture back in there, because the sniper priest is excellent. Love this guy. What a good piece of artwork.
Yeah, that's
what a magnificent beard.
Oh, it's a great beard.
Oh my God! I'm sorry.
How exactly does Sniper Priest snipe with?
I was about to say, I never noticed his eyes were gouged out. I never noticed it.
Yeah, I'm guessing through the glory of God, he sees the unholy targets that he needs to see, and
God guides his aim.
Mm-hmm.
How I don't know why you jumped to that conclusion, but
however could I?
It's such a weird direction to go in. Funnily enough, the sniper priests, they ritually blind themselves to show their devotion to God, and they utilize their faith, just their faith, to snipe enemies of the church. And you could think to yourself, how well does that work? Like, in practice, how well does it work? Well, there is a story of a sniper priest during the siege of St. Lux who killed a target 3 miles away. So apparently it works pretty damn well.
Yeah. All right, cool.
See, I know that this is not what you meant, but you saying ritualistically blind themselves, as a ritual, but my first mind was like, how do they get the eyes back so they can do it again? Like, they blind themselves and then they do it again. Like, what do you mean? Oh, I see it.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Oh, that
taking
is
a
a
shot, stuff them
really-
back in there, and then let's give it another go.
That is a really cool concept, though, that you would literally have a sniper that has no eyes. And it's like you would think that is what the sniper needs more than anything, but it's like, oh yeah, this is Trench Crusade. Of course, they're just aiming on faith. That's cool. That's kind of a cool concept, yeah. Not what you expect from a sniper.
I love it. It's really fun. Obviously you do need a little bit of holy reinforcement amongst your war bands for New Antioch. So you also have your trench clerics, and again, what a great picture! It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they did. They nicked the scripture cloak idea. This guy's absolutely covered in scripture.
They are.
Well, okay, being covered in scripture might be we may be setting the bar a little low.
Yep. Yeah,
I don't know what you mean.
are...
Totally original idea. What is it? Original OC, do not steal.
Yeah, these are the guys that I couldn't stop thinking about Gundam with because they've got the same shoulder armor as a grunt suit.
Oh yeah. So something that is kind of cool about these guys is they do perform actual miracles. So obviously the fact that there are units that can hear the voice of God does indicate that, you know, he's definitely around. But the trench clerics can heal, they can smite heretics. They also frequently carry a portable shrine with them, which, I mean, you can clearly see on that guy. That's quite a big cross that he's lugging around.
Yeah.
Is the cross alone the portable shrine?
I'm assuming that there's probably a bit more going on back there. But, okay, so, Shy, this actually brings me to a little point, if I may. There's also one big question that keeps popping up in comments, why God doesn't get involved in this whole mess. It's vague, but accepted canon is that it's due to the covenant of heaven and hell. Archdevils and demons can't step foot on earth and remain in hell, because if they get out, they would break the covenant, and God and his angels would get involved. Problem is, every time God gets involved in earthly matters, we get things like floods that wipe out all of humanity, so neither good or bad guys really want his full attention, or that will lead to total destruction of all humans and demons alike. I mean, I kind of pretty much follow that line of thinking as well, where there wouldn't be a setting. It would just be a case of I'm wiping the slate clean of everything and starting again.
In a sense, aren't the demons trying to kill all the humans anyway? So, I mean, wouldn't at some point God want to intervene?
I guess it depends on whether they're treating God as being like New Testament God, Old Testament God, whether it's a case of I mean, that's true. He does help the faithful. So he might not be directly involved, but miracles are like an actual thing that happen.
Okay, so he's arming the faithful, and he really, really, really doesn't want to push the nuke button. And he's doing his best to stop him before he has to, basically.
Yeah, kind of a not getting directly involved, because that would be the end of all things on Earth, but at the same time, not letting hell get its way either. I guess it's almost like both sides kind of pushing the boundary a little without ever stepping over the, okay, mutually assured destruction side of things.
I would assume the only time God would like directly get involved is like, New Antioch got completely destroyed because hell got their shit together. Humanity has been overrun. There is like one last line of defense. They're not looking good. And then maybe it's like, well, I guess I'll just go Old Testament on their ass, right? So,
well, there's also the fact that like New Antioch is the kind of the main fortress for, it says the faithful, but it is also worth pointing out that there is the Iron Sultanate as well, which is where the Islamic factions all came together. So there is Christianity, and we know that Christianity in Trench Crusade is like irrevocably an accurate and true thing that has happened. Like the existence of like the Metachrists and the fact that there are miracles, that there are things that only faith could explain, kind of suggests that, okay, Christianity as a concept, along with, you know, details of it, are most like it has to be fact.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the Iron Sultanate as well. And whilst they're both like part of the kind of group of Abrahamic religions, there are also significant differences between, you know, like Islam and Christianity.
Yeah.
And so there's weirdly an incompatibility, but also a compatibility there where it's like both versions. I think there's also reference to Hebrew knights that destroy a Templar stronghold. So that's like another of the Abrahamic religions that is, in that case, only slightly represented currently. I'm pretty sure they'll like flesh that out at some point. But that means there's like three kind of branches of that same root that are technically all being proved as true and accurate in that world, because they are existing collectively against hell as like an actual invading force.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, technically Allah is the one helping the Sultanate, but it's like whether it's being counted as the same or not, that is probably something that we'll never get an answer to, which would make the setting, I think, more interesting.
That sort of mystery as to who's helping who, and if it's just the one or the many.
Yes, I guess it's whether there is just the one version of God, but that one version of God is supportive and accurate for all of the religions that are represented in the setting, or whether there are different versions depending on which one it is.
Yeah.
I have no idea whether they will ever sort of tackle that amount of like, I don't know, like just fully going into the theology of it, or whether it will be kept vague. I suspect probably vague, to be honest.
I was gonna say, like, it would probably be better to just keep it vague, right? Rather than try to just make sort of like this amalgamation of different, you know, deities. It's probably better to just leave that vague into your own specific faith, right?
Yeah. And also from what I've seen, it looks like each one is being treated like as respectfully as the other. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any sort of like half-arsing it of just, well, I'm familiar with this thing, so this is what's going to get all the attention. Instead, there's it, from what I've seen in kind of just a little bit of mild prep for kind of, if we do cover the Iron Sultanate, you know, in the future, from what I've seen, the feedback to the way that's represented seems to be pretty positive. So, and yeah, like Mike Francina is ridiculously knowledgeable about religion as a whole by the look of things. So, also, I do like, Sultanate is not super happy with the Christian factions because Crusaders took Jerusalem from the Muslims and unleashed hell, which I think is totally legit. As complaints go, absolutely fine. You can't say that they don't have a point. They definitely have, I think, possibly the biggest of points in the history of points. They've definitely got, like, the right to complain is right there.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument to be made there for sure. Yep. 100%.
So yeah, it almost feels like the creator, he gets religion so well that he's like done what we normally do when it comes to like the bell curve of understanding something, where it's like starting off learning, shit posting a little bit, and then like really learning it, and then going back down at the end of the bell curve where you know so much you just shit posting again. That's kind of how I see it, just a little bit, because like it's like, I don't know. I remember when Balatro came out and it was like, oh, this cool build and stuff like that, and now people are out here being like, what if the King of Spades had WhatsApp? And it's just it's got into a whole new level, and I kind of appreciate it because he clearly knows what he's talking about, but then he's also like, but what if the snipers were blind and they fought through the faith of God? And that's just, that's just great.
I can see what you mean. It's like there is definitely like some deep, knowledgeable stuff. Like, it's one of the things where it makes me wonder, like, if you didn't grow up religious or haven't had an interest in researching it before, are there things in the setting that it's like just a word? You see a word and you're like, I'm not really sure what that means, but it sounds interesting or it sounds cool, and then move on. Whereas if you've either grown up with it or have researched it significantly, have like an above average interest in it, you kind of go, oh, that's a reference. Right.
Mm-hmm.
This person clearly knows exactly what they're talking about. Like that sort of, it can be enjoyable no matter where you are on that kind of ladder of interest or experience. But like the more you look into it, the more it's like, okay, he really does actually know a lot about all of this.
Yeah.
I really also kind of feel like, I mean, for a lot of it, a lot of the religious texts are like storytelling, you know? And so you see a lot of like the stuff from the Bible or whatever, and you might not like be particularly interested or religious yourself, but you just like, you know, you read some shit that goes down in the Old Testament, you're like, damn, like that's just storytelling. That's just cool.
Yeah. Like a village being turned to salt and the wife getting turned to salt because she looked back. And it's like, oh, great, lovely, love that.
Really like the Edda and Eddie meme where it's like, all right, Ed, don't eat that dirt. And he just like laughs and he looks at the dirt all eyeing it because like reverse psychology. It's like, all right, Eve, there's only one rule. Don't you touch that apple.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
It's the only thing. You can't have that fruit of knowledge.
Curious, I didn't ask this. What faction, I mean, you played a Trench Crusade before, right? Like the tabletop?
Yes.
What faction do you like the most to play?
So I've tried New Antioch and I've tried the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, and I preferred the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent. But I'm a sucker for big dudes in armor, so New Antioch keeps drawing me back a bit because they have the heavy mechanized infantry, which I absolutely love. But I can kind of get that fix a little bit with the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent because of like Hell Knights.
I forgot the Seven-Headed Serpent were the dudes with the little like fetal position dude in the chest. That's right.
You've got some Hell Knights. I love the Hell Knights. The Hell Knights are the best. The guy with the massive gun, but still wearing like Crusader style armor, is one of my absolute favorites. But they've also got like the really mad stuff, like the Praetor, the Desecrated Saint, the Hunter, as well, of the Left Hand Path. Got this big horrible bow made out of meat and bones, and there's like hands sticking out of it. Oh, it's so good.
That's really funny stuff. I don't know, like you just see it and you're just like, good God, how did you come up with this stuff? And it's great.
I know, and it's the fact that like so much of it is like that, where like you'll see a piece of artwork from this setting and be like, that's insane. And then it's like, well, good news for you, because there's about 50 more of these, and all of them are that insane. But they're also incredibly thematic, and like it just feels like the imagination just gets more crazy every time. Like the Desecrated Saint is horrific, but also I just don't know how you would have that idea in the first place.
Wait,
it's horrible, but like you can't stop looking at it and picking stuff out.
Wait,
so the Church of the Metamorphosis is not in just yet. Sorry.
No, I was going to ask that question because I don't know that Orphan of Cost looking son of a bitch. But I was actually curious about, I mean, not to send us off in the wrong direction. Oh my God, what in the hell? It is Orphan of Cost looking type thing.
So good.
I was curious about what the Death Commandos were like in Trench Crusade because I saw the mini and I forgot what they looked like, and I just looked it up and I forgot, and I found them and I'm like, that's really cool. I kind of want to use that.
So I don't know that I've used those yet.
I got the old old helmet type thing, and they look really cool. Also, Church of the Metamorphosis. Good God, what it's
bug hell.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty good. There's also hang on. I need to try and find this.
Helmet is so goofy looking to me. In the Heretic Legion, that Sin Eater's helmet just looks. Look at me, and he's got pierced nipples and like brother. Okay.
there's some artwork. I think it is for the Church of the Metamorphosis, which is like an insane, like a bunch of wolf heads bursting out of something. And I'm just trying to see. I think it was that one. It's so good. That's.
I mean, you have piqued my interest with. Oh, there's a thing with. Oh,
yeah, hell yeah.
That is indeed a bunch of wolf heads bursting out of a guy's mouth. I'm assuming the guy in there is what it started off as, and then, oh boy,
mongrel supplicant. It's so gross in the best way. Also, I would like to play you the song of my people.
I mean, and so where is this is just an upcoming faction that did they just announce this? Was this like a Kickstarter goal that was reached? Because I know their Kickstarter went crazy bonkers. Where all did this come from?
So
we didn't talk about them last time, right?
No, some of this stuff is kind of like, some of it's been lingering around, but it just wasn't like planned as part of the initial, like the second Kickstarter. It's like they're kind of constantly updating and bringing out either new factions or expanding on existing ones. So something that probably in another episode we can talk about is, like, under the umbrella of New Antioch, we talked about, like, the Papal States Intervention Force, but there's also things like the Expeditionary Forces of Abyssinia, which is an entire other region. And there's like an entire, like, section of background for that, which has got like some really nice little kind of references in there as well. There's also the Free State of Prussia. There's a lot of stuff that is just being updated as they go and just making more and more stuff. And the Church of the Metamorphosis is effectively going to be another faction. But there's already a good amount of art. Like, there's already quite a bit to be going along with. And it's so much of it is absolutely horrible. I mean, technically, we haven't even seen the worst one. The Angel of Transcendence, for my money, is absolutely one of the most nightmare-inducing images I've ever seen.
That's the worst thing I've ever seen as well. I'm with you on that one, Kirioth. High five.
Yep, those two images you just posted are going to haunt my dreams for at least a month.
See, the creepy smile one I like a little bit more, because at least it just what the hell?
Holy shit. Like,
absolute full-on nightmare fuel.
Remember how we said that like half of the good 40K stuff is just some dude doing a line of coke, and then like, all right, come up with the worst shit you can imagine. It's kind of getting the same vibe.
Yeah, but ramp it up to like 100.
Do you want to see? Do you want to see the first phase of the rites of malting?
Is there scalp being sinned? Is there scalp being skinned?
Yep. Yeah. The scalp is peeled from the skull. Then you cut a hole in the skull to allow access for the metamorphic vector.
So that's gross, right? But there's actually something really cool about the way that looks. I don't know if it's just the way it's drawn, but that's actually like really fucking cool.
Remember how I was like, the weird lady who's like,
oh, I forgot about that one.
Oh my god. It's like, remember when I was like, that weird lady who's like totally nude but has like blood all over her, and I was like, this one doesn't quite fit the aesthetic I was thinking of, even if I'm sure there's a lore reason for it. I feel like this weird skinned lady scalp thing actually fits it more. She looks like generally rather like pretty and mostly unscathed, but it's that juxtaposition between that and like, oh yeah, I'm like a normal good looking person. Here's my head. Here's my skull.
Yeah.
Things not to say on a first date. Do you want to see an alien angel insect?
Oh, jeez.
I bet you do.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, of course.
That's
Okay.
a pupil seraphim.
Hey,
Okay,
that's really cool.
Badass as shit. I love that.
It's really cool.
More of this, please.
Mhm.
I love the wing configuration. The wing configuration is awesome, which again
that
is
looks
like
dope.
quite a traditional like. There's like different interpretations of angels and how their wings are laid out depending on the description in the Bible and stuff, and that's very reminiscent of some of that stuff. It's really neat.
You know, I already like have no food in me because I puked it all up over the evening, and now this is what we're hitting. Okay, so that's fine. Like this one's good. I like this one.
Yeah, I love the juxtaposition of like the very like unbroken mask versus like just a completely broken person.
Yeah. Also, I just this sentence I don't agree with. So martyred by the heretic legions, that bit's fine. I say fine, you know what I mean. But kept alive by the grace of God. I don't know that there's any grace going on here.
You know,
That does not look like a fun position to wake up in. Like I don't think I think the nice thing would have been to let her go.
sometimes I see. Oh, I forget what I watched. I watched like something, and it was talking about like a genie wish, and it was like, I hope my person comes back alive, and they wake up and like they were like in a coffin, but they woke up and they have like all the formaldehyde in all their veins and stuff, but they just can't die anymore, so they're just like screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Some old like genie's wish type thing. I'm kind of getting the same vibe here, where it's like, oh, they're alive still, and it's like, yeah, technically.
Yeah.
Monkey paw curls, right?
Technically correct, which is the best kind of correct. They are still, she's walking around.
Yep.
It's fine. Hey, look, we get to see more cool artwork and witness more like existential horrors that the human mind was not set up to deal with. All courtesy of Mike Francina, who, I love him dearly. He's incredibly talented, hugely knowledgeable, has created an incredible IP, but also,
You ever thought about
I'm a little bit worried. I'm not going to lie. I'm just a little bit worried.
I bet Mike is a perfectly nice guy, because I don't know about all of you, but every time you see like an author that does like horrifically violent, gory stuff, they're like a total teddy bear in real life, because they're getting all their trauma out on like paper, right? And there's like, oh, trauma? No, I'll just draw that shit out, and hey, I'm they're probably great, right?
Well, what's the old phrase? Art is to disturb the comforted and comfort the disturbed.
Oh, that's a nice quote to just bring out there. I like it.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I heard like Jake Gyllenhaal or someone say it. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, I already threw up my lunch last night, but now I need more of it. So wish me luck. It's time for the ultimate sick food: white toast with cinnamon and butter on it.
Oh, best of luck, man.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks, New Antioch. Please. Jerusalem was the tirade of diarrhea I had, and they've been holding it back. And thank you so much.
The toast is New Antioch.
No.